this turnout is fantastic. And
quite a ton of
you know,
people,
I think we can thank our president for making us all so enthused about 2018. So, enough of me. This is a great gal. Please, give her all the support you can.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to stand up here because there are so many people here. But I'm going to warn you, if I fall down, it's business as usual. My dad always teased me that my nickname should be Gravity Gretchen because I do have a tendency to run into things or fall down. But that being said, I want to thank my friend Steve Adamini for that sweet introduction. You know, I served 14 years in the Michigan legislature, and for some reason, I always gravitated toward the Upers. They were always the funniest people in the room. Usually the smartest people in the room. And there was never any pretense, so you didn't have to deal with all the baloney. You have to deal with a lot of politicians. So anyway, thank you for coming out today. I am so thrilled that you are here. I am excited about this race for governor. After 14 years in the Michigan legislature, and as the leader of the minority, the leader in the Senate, I was the Senate Democratic leader, and I had to be on the front line opposing Governor Snyder, the Senate Majority Leader, the Republican Speaker of the House. After those 4 years where we saw right to work and we faced so many battles, I really thought, I've done my public service. I'm going to resume a private life in the private sector and still be a very good Democrat and support good candidates. So I was practicing law and I was teaching at the University of Michigan, and I learned it took about 3 months before I was so angry about what I was seeing coming out of our Capitol that I really started to think about running for governor. I have this much patience for bad management, and you can see there's no space between them. I have no patience for bad policy. I am thinking about my kids every single day because I don't want them to leave the state of Michigan. I don't want them to feel like they have to leave the state for an opportunity, for good schools, for good paying jobs, for respect. I don't want my kids to leave, but I don't want any Michigan kid to feel like they have to leave. Every Michigan kid, no matter what zip code you're born into or who your parent is, should have we should have a birthright to a solid educational foundation. We as a state have lost our way. And so I started plotting to think, all right, I gotta run because I'm looking at the potential landscape and I know that we deserve better than what we have. And I think that we can put together the momentum, the vision, the platform that really reflects the Michigan that we all deserve. And that's why I jumped in this race so quickly. I did do a short stint as a prosecutor in Ingham County. My prosecutor got caught up in a scandal and resigned, and my judges asked me to go in and clean up the prosecutor's office. And initially I said, I'm not a criminal lawyer. I don't know a lot about being a prosecutor. But they said, what we need more than anything is someone who's going to go in and make the tough decisions as an executive, build up morale within the office, and build up confidence of the public again. And as I look at what we need in our next governor, those are skills I think translate pretty well. We deserve to have confidence in our leaders. So this is a 2-year marathon I am embarking on. I'm making this my full-time job. I'm not practicing law. I'm not teaching anymore. I am a candidate for governor. And I think that's because it's going to take that kind of drive, that kind of organization, and that much time to build a platform that really reflects what we all in Michigan need, the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula, kids and seniors, people on the west side and the east side. That's what it's going to take to rebuild the Democratic Party. That's what it's going to take to rebuild the state of Michigan ultimately. And that's my level of commitment. It's not a small sacrifice in my household to forego one of our incomes, but that's how committed I am to this. And with your help, we can be successful. 2018 is a great opportunity for us to move the state of Michigan forward after so many years of backsliding. We can show the rest of the nation what a real vision that revolves around people looks like. But that starts with 2018, and that starts with the governor's office. So, one more quick little anecdote. I remember sitting on the House floor and watching a governor talk about Michigan like this. And as you know, I sat with the Youpers, and I will never forget Andy going, "That's two!" I will never forget that. 7 weeks in, I've spent a whole week here in the UP getting around. I started in St. Ignace. I'm not going to list off where we've been because I will forget a community, and I don't want to do that. But we went to the Sioux and then all the way to the West End, and here we are in Marquette for the sled dog race, which my good friend, I see Steve Lindbergh has joined us. My buddies from Marquette have been telling me to get up here for this for a long time. So I'm here in February. I didn't know it would be this warm. So I still want credit for braving it. Anyway, with that, that's all the monologue that I want to give you, other than to tell you, they say that the most stressful things that ever happen to you are 5 life events. Starting a new job, moving your home, getting married, the birth of a child, and the death of a loved one. My first term in the Michigan legislature, all 5 of those things happened. I was caring for my mother at the end of her life with her battle of brain cancer. While I was ripe with child, I gave birth about 2 months before my mom finally succumbed to the cancer battle. And I will tell you, that experience didn't change my values, but it eliminated my patience for waiting for solutions. And that's why I am where I am. That's why I am seeking the office of the governor. That's why I want your help. This is a huge state. This is a Herculean undertaking. I am going to be manned on the financial front by, probably threefold if it ends up being Bill Schuette on the other side of the aisle. And so every day, every way that you can be helpful, if you're willing to be, I will welcome your counsel, I would welcome your networks, I would welcome your financial support if you're able. So I've got an event at the Landmark tomorrow morning. I hope you'll come by. And if you want to walk with me, I'm doing walks across Michigan as an opportunity to showcase the beautiful state we live in, to get some exercise and to talk with people, because that's what my mom and I did all the way through her cancer battle and all the way through my pregnancy. It was February 15 years ago that I slipped on the ice and I took her out too. I fell into crappy Gretchen. I landed on my child and she landed on me, and we laughed and laughed and laughed. But I'll never forget that, because those walks made a huge difference in my life and our relationship, and that's why I want to do these walks across Michigan. Initially might sound hokey, but it's been a lot of fun. And the people in St. Ignace set a pretty high bar, so I hope you turn out tomorrow morning. So with that, tell me, what do I need to know? What do you want your next governor to work on? What are you interested that I can shed some light on, or just educate me? The Barris told me you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so I'm going to shut up and listen. Yes, education. I see yes.
Education funding.
Woo!
Public school funding.
Yes.
All right, so I am proud of the record that I amassed over my time in the legislature as an absolute advocate for education, and it's so closely linked with economic development. And I think we need to get smarter about how we talk about it in terms of linking the two, because so many in Lansing think, oh, it's just another expense on our balance sheet. Our accountant governor, I think, looks at everything through the balance sheet lens. And it's an investment in our it's the best economic development that we can do as a state. It was, I fought cuts to education my whole time I was in the legislature. I even fought a Democratic governor taking money out of the school aid fund to bolster the general fund. And I know that we have disinvested, but it wasn't until I was listening to an interview on the radio right before the November election that I heard the interview premise the question with, they were analyzing what's happening in these states that may go Trump, may go Clinton. And he said, well, what's going to happen in a state like Michigan, where we know it's one of the least educated states in the country? Well, your reaction was exactly mine, where it was that sock to the gut, where I realized that's how people are looking at Michigan. And you look at the numbers and you see that we are behind in our investment in the services that we give our kids, and the respect that we need to show our educators and support staff and people who make that their life's work. We need to treat them like professionals. respect them by compensating them and respecting your benefits. And give you your 3%, right? Yes, ma'am.
My other issue is environment.
Yeah.
Because, Governor Granholm put on the state land that it had to be very well preserved and they could cut some things, but now Tom Casperson has passed the bill that they can cut all those trees on the state land. And around where I live in the summertime, it's just horrible. The state land in Lake Superior State Forest is horrible.
Yeah. Well, so I've been getting around the UP, and I'll tell you, there are a lot of similarities that we all are concerned about throughout Michigan. The UP has some unique challenges, but some unique, wonderful things about going on here in the UP as well. But I think as I travel the state, people are worried about our kids' education. They're worried about job opportunities, but we're worried about the environment too. Yeah. And no one feels it as acutely, I think, as you do throughout the UP, whether it's our water or our, natural, it's the potential mining samples that are going on in the porcupines. So across the state, I'm hearing that. And one of the easy things to remedy from a governor's position is to ensure at the very least the people have notice about what's going on with the DNR. At least people should have an opportunity to weigh in and understand that there's science that is backing decision making, that the debate is really reflective of ensuring that our natural resources that define us and make this state great are protected. So I share your concern, and I think there's lots of room for improvement on all those issues. Yeah, and maybe the good news of 2018 is Tom Casperson won't be around any longer, right? Is that a universal acceptance? I know there are races not to weigh in, that there will be issues, but I think we can all agree on that. Yes, ma'am.
I know.
Okay. Thank you.
I know.
We know that the Mackinac, convention of the ultra-right wing founded by DeVos, they set an agenda, and I think Snyder followed it very closely. And one of the things that they did, talking about the general fund and how they tweeted that was, gave an excuse to do what they really wanted to do, which was cut the social safety net. And right now, people who are on disability are getting $10 or $12 a month for food stamps or less. People who have severely disabled children do no longer have respite services. The services to our most vulnerable population are being sliced and diced with abandon, not to mention Flint. We were out welcoming Snyder earlier today.
I heard about your welcome.
Wear hats on.
That's what he deserves.
I wanted to ask you what can be done to protect the vulnerable populations of our state that are suffering and they don't have a voice.
I thank you for your question. I think that that's an important one. One of the things that I think we're all suffering from in this administration is this culture that puts people in powerful positions first, looks at everything from the lens of a balance sheet and numbers. I mean, that's what drove the crisis in Flint. By the way, I know we're not from Flint, we're not even close to Flint, but what's happened there should scare the heck out of everyone else. And I'm hearing it across the UP, which is, I wasn't sure, how many people would really be interested in and worried about people. We are. A wonderful thing to learn. But there were so many red flags that went up that should have gone up that this governor blew through because he wanted to read the savings on not treating that water as the paramount issue. And so changing the culture to one that we have a governor and a cabinet and appointees who are focused on working for the people they serve and putting people first. And that, I think, is something that sets our party apart from the other one. It's also something that I think we haven't done enough of as a Democratic Party, giving voice to this, but also explaining why it benefits everyone to ensure that that safety net is intact and reliable. So that's something that I'm committed to. Beyond that, I don't have more specifics that I can throw on the table right now, but I thank you for raising it. I share your
of families and citizens to address the needs and to identify possible effective programs for disabled and mentally ill people.
I'm taking notes. You said that's great. Absolutely. All right. Yes.
Let's not forget about the role that the arts have in our what could be a very vibrant area of Michigan, the whole state. Instead of just STEM, science, technology, education, and math, how about STEAM? Putting the arts in there. And some politicians, some representatives are interested, but not too many. That not only makes education better, kids learn more, but it also infuses commerce and the vibrancy of the culture.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
I agree. You want to stand up here? You can't.
No, you're wrong.
Hey, when's Art on the Rocks? That's what I want to come back. Is it all of August?
The last full weekend of July. Last full weekend of July.
Okay, the last full weekend in July. All right. I usually come in August, so I can jump in Lake Superior. But, remember Lindy? Lindy went to take a picture of me jumping into Lake Superior, and he had his lens cap on.
Off of Black Rocks.
I didn't plan it either. I jumped in with all my clothes on. And it wasn't back in my crazy youth, it was two summers ago. I want to just acknowledge my dear friend Mike Brucey, who's joined us as well. I wasn't kidding when I said I gravitated toward the university. All right. Yes.
Treatment for those who have suffered poisoning in the Flint water crisis.
Speak up.
He said treatment for those who have suffered from the poisoning in the Flint water crisis. All right. So thank you for asking that question. Someone the other night said, what would you have done? Could this have happened under your watch? Well, I'll tell you right now, the answer is it never would have happened had we been in charge. How do I know that? Because we wouldn't have let this emergency manager law go through. And then when the people rejected it, we would have respected the will of the people. And then third flag early on was they sent it again and they put an appropriation in it to avoid the will of the people. I will tell you right now, as governor, I will veto any bill that comes to the desk with an appropriation to avoid your ability to weigh in. I respect the Democratic But your question was about treatment, follow-up treatment. So we know that a number of people lost their lives because of what's happened in the Flint water crisis. We also know that it's like 1,030 days later, people still cannot turn on their taps. Governor Snyder's in court fighting and telling people he's not going to even give them water credit. So you got to pay for water you cannot drink. He doesn't want to deliver bottled water anymore. The children of Flint have been permanently hurt by this decision and this water. Whole families, but generations too, because it actually changes DNA, is what the scientists are telling us. And by the way, I like science. So we need to give those kids all the wraparound services that they require. We should be doing that statewide, but in Flint especially. So thank you. Yes.
I've been through extreme lead poisoning myself, and I say
Okay.
extreme because my lead level was 2.5 times what's considered acute. It was from environmental factors at work. But needless to say, I've learned a lot about lead poisoning. Once lead enters the body, it takes up residence basically permanently until it's removed by chelation therapy. If the children are being affected, they need to be chelated immediately. And that's not happening. So every day that goes by, the lead is in their body for the rest of their life unless they receive chelation treatment.
And hasn't this been going on for 2 years
And
now?
this has been going on for 2 years.
Yep.
The sooner they're chelated, the quicker they'll start to make whatever recovery they're going to make. But the longer it's in the body, the more long-term damage it does. Fortunately for me, I was 25 when I started accumulating my lead, so my brain was fully formed. And I don't have the issues that the young people are going to have. But my first round of intravenous chelation was $700. And that knocked my lead level down without going into what the scale is from 66 to 23, which is still considered acute lead poisoning. But the state is ducking their responsibility to actually provide the chelation treatment. It's intravenous EDTA that those kids desperately need. And every day it's put off, there's more and more and more damage being done. And having been through extreme lead poisoning myself, I take it as a personal affront what's going on in Flint.
Thank you for sharing your story. What was it that you noticed that first, what put you on notice that lead might be a problem for you? What was your...
My legs stopped working. I was drywalling the ceiling, but I spent most of my life as a band instrument repairman. Band instruments are assembled with lead tin solder. It's 50-50. Every time you heat it with a torch, there's lead fumes in the air. I had purchased a $5,000 air filter and had an OSHA inspector through my shop asking for recommendations on how to install it. And he told me I wasted my money and that if I installed the air filter, I would be throwing good money after bad because we really didn't need it because we were too small a shop and the room was big and blah, 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 blah. So foolishly, as a much younger man, I let this OSHA inspector talk me out of protecting myself and my staff. But that's where the majority of my lead poisoning comes from. But I'm a landlord and I do a lot of handiwork on my property. And one day I was jumping up and down on a scaffold doing a ceiling that needed a fresh layer. And I just all of a sudden couldn't go up a ladder or get back on the scaffold. And there was like no warning. My legs were absolutely fine one day. And the next day they were so cramped up that I virtually couldn't walk. And when I got tested, my lead level was just through the roof.
Well, thank you for sharing your story, and I thank you for putting a finer point on it by explaining what it meant, and how you knew, so that maybe people can have a little, all of us, me included, have a better appreciation for some of the clear problems that kids are going to suffer.
But the lead replaces specific minerals in the body. Because in the early primitive environment, there was no lead in the environment. It's all in the earth. So all the lead in the environment has been extracted from the earth by man. So no living thing has developed the ability to deal with lead because it wasn't there in the early stages of evolution. So its residence in the body is virtually permanent unless it's removed by chelation.
Thank you. Yes.
One of my big concerns is about the folks that are living with Alzheimer's and who's affected by that. And some of you heard me say this before, if you don't already know someone with Alzheimer's, you're going to know someone with Alzheimer's. And our current governor has, again, stifled funding. There's programs that got really great starts with 3 years of funding as pilot projects and then didn't continue them. And those folks turned in really good results. With all of us hitting that age of hitting 65 and getting into a bigger risk area for Alzheimer's, we have got to have funding for families, for people talking about respite. We need to be able to, again, offer people educational opportunities. We need to let the researchers do their thing, but we got to take care of each other in the meantime, and we need help coming from the governor's office to care for those living with the disease and their family members and the rest of us, and especially as social worker types and nonprofits who really want to do good things and are struggling for dollars to do those.
So as someone who is on the front line, what's your experience then with Snyder combining DHS and DCH? Have you noticed, has it impacted you, or do you have recommendations for moving forward on that front or others as well, in addition to making it a priority?
Yeah, my concern is, again, it's added layers of bureaucracy. And I think there's areas where we had people who were specialized in certain areas. The Children's Protective Services workers, the Adult Protective Services workers, those areas, they were really knowledgeable in their areas, and we've made it harder for them to access services. It's harder for our local offices to access people at the Lansing level. And again, that idea about asking people what they need has, again, been convoluted. So we can't easily say, here's what our communities need. People with the disease have a hard time finding people in the legislature who are going to listen to them. say, here's what we need. So we're ignoring the people who know best about their lives.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
My name is Al Quatron. I've met you before. I'm president of the supervisory union in the state of Michigan. I represent 1,500 supervisors and leaders in this state. They're the ones that take the heat. They're the ones recently in a VA home we have where the message that I only want to hear what I want to hear was loud and clear. And that the stuff that was happening there got stifled until finally the press woke it up. Now I'm defending those people because they were told, only tell us what we want to hear.
Right.
Now they're shocked.
Right.
Now they're acting shocked. What I want to ask you, we just got Bolger appointed to the Civil Service Commission. State employees, teachers, we're all trash. They want to get rid of all of us, take our retirement, take our stuff. We ain't worth a damn. That's what they want all you to believe.
True.
And we work hard.
You do work hard. Yeah, we don't think that.
You're
on the front line.
I put 32 years in the Department of Corrections. I started right here in Marquette, 1973. They wanted to get rid of me because I helped organize a union. Back in those days, you couldn't organize a union. That was a violation. That's where I started from. I'm retired. I'm the president of you. Never changed. Still representing people. We need help.
Yeah.
We have Republican everything. We have a Republican Supreme Court. We have Republican justices everywhere. And they cover for each other. I wouldn't mind if they were honest, good-hearted people. They're not. They're not. They're covering up for each other.
That's because they're trying to change.
I know I've met you before,
Yeah.
Gretchen, and you spoke to my organization before, just before I was elected. Okay?
Yeah.
I would like to have you back again.
Well, I'm there. I want to. So let's start by thanking state employees and teachers. Culture that the Snyder administration has created, one where they do not have lines of dissension, that he is so insulated because they don't want to hear from anyone who doesn't agree with them.
Same way Flint happened.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is exactly what happened in Flint. And the Grand Rapids Veterans Home.
That's what I was talking about.
I know that's what you're talking about, and across the state. So one of the things that I think is really important about this upcoming election is 2018 is a real opportunity to not just win an election, but to govern. Now, I served with 3 different governors while I was in the legislature. And I'll tell you, there was one that was head and shoulders better running the state government than the other 2, and that was John Engler. But please do not hear that to think that I am saying John Engler was a great governor, because I don't. I fought him on a lot of his policies. But he understood state government, and he used the power of the executive office to accomplish his goals. That's something that matters. And that's something that I bring to the table with the qualifications and all the experience that I had in state government. We need someone who knows how to use the state budget to accomplish our goals, who's willing to work with term-limited legislators who are a pain in the butt. I was one, I can say that. But to build relationships so that we can get things done. And who will use the power inherent to the executive office, whether it's organizing or it's threatening and using the veto power to accomplish our goals, and to create a culture where we have a diverse group of people sitting around a table, including and encouraging a robust debate so that we are thoughtful and make educated decisions, and ultimately someone who's going to be as shrewd in all of the appointments, whether it's on DNR commission or it's on the bench, to have people who are going to put our priorities first. We are still living with a judiciary that John Engler put together because he knew how to do that and use that power so shrewdly. We got to do that. And once we have the ability to set those choices and set those appointments to be unapologetic about making sure we've got good appointees who are going to put people first, and that's what this election's all about. Yeah.
One more comment.
Okay.
And
Well, we got a lot of
this
hands
is-
up, so.
This is general, okay?
Yes.
One more quick comment.
Yes.
Forbes magazine,
Yes.
not a left-wing radical out there group, right? Rates Michigan 50th in transparency,
Yep.
50th, last. 50th in dark money, last.
Yep.
That's Forbes, okay? That's where we went under this governor. He led us there.
And
This has got to change, and our next governor
Yep.
needs to be proactive in changing that.
Amen. I'm with you. Okay. Yes, you way back there. You had your hand up for a
Yes,
while.
thank you for coming up here. Thank you for running. It's a breath of fresh air. Two things that come to mind for me with the economy in the UP. Dark stores hits us harder. And we're fighting harder than it seems downstate. But two, we've lost sight of how important industry is here, particularly mining and our skilled trades. And I want to know, can you help us protect that? We're seeing everything going to Minnesota with our iron ore mines. Very little investment here. Our state doesn't seem to want to step up to the line and kind of broker deals.
And fight. Yeah.
Fight.
Look, we need to use economic development tools, smart ones. You know, this governor got rid of, downtown development tax credits for brownfield redevelopment, for historical buildings. Those are really important to, the history and embracing, but also promoting development in our state. Instead, he favors just willy-nilly picking friends and giving them special treatment. I like I said earlier, I like facts, I like science, and I think that we need to use tools that have efficacy for investment and jobs in Michigan, and not those that are just picking winners and losers based on who you're connected to. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I've heard many times is the dark store issue, so I have a real appreciation for the squeeze it's put on local municipalities and running state government, but also an observation that has been universal, whether it's St. Ignace or Escanaba, the issue of ensuring that everyone in the UP is connected online, fast speed internet, broadband across the state. A realtor in St. Ignace was telling me that she was about to close a deal on selling a big piece of property in St. Ignace. And the man who was the purchaser wanted to put his business there, 50 jobs, and she said they were probably going to pay around $50,000 a year for each of those jobs. That's a big deal. And ultimately, he decided not to go through with it because he wasn't sure that they could be reliably connected online. And so that's an issue that is unique to the UP. I mean, there are spots down below the bridge, but nothing like what we need to do here in the UP. And that's fundamental infrastructure. And I know that there are some people who choose to live in the woods because they don't want to be connected. Just because it's accessible doesn't mean you have to connect, but that's something that I think we need to do on economic development front as well. Woo! It's getting warm in here. All right. I'm sweating in Marquette in February. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
we do, everybody always says the problem is money. And, there's money.
Can't hear.
Where it is. I'm just
I'll
wondering,
repeat it. Yeah.
the
But if you can
problem is
talk.
money, but at the same time, we see a bill going through the legislature right now trying to get rid of the state income tax. I mean, what is wrong with having tax if you're getting services?
Right.
So, there have been some tax credits to businesses and so on. Do you have any, feelings about state income tax, business tax credits, things like that?
You know I have feelings. So, I've done a number of interviews just today on the income tax question, and the Republican speaker is saying, we got to give working people a break. If you cared about working people, you never would have given business $2 billion in tax breaks and tax pensions, taken away their earned income tax credit, and cut schools to pay for it.
Give them health insurance.
So you want to help people undo that BS. Ooh, I didn't say that on the radio. I'm getting worked up. But, the question, of course, it's a money question, but it's a priorities question. It's about who are you working for and who are you fighting for. Is it more important to give all these tax breaks, or is it important that your kids have the skills they need to be successful?
I think there's enough money in this state to do what we need to do. It's a matter of reappropriation.
I'm telling you right now, the size of the money that we give away in tax breaks dwarfs the size of the money that we spend every year.
Right.
If everyone actually paid their fair share, we could send every kid to 4-year university and pay for it. Have universal early childhood education, quality universal childhood education. I mean, we've made choices that have put us in this position. When I say we, I'm using the term loosely. They, but there are things that we can do. Is any of it easy? No. But we have to have the will and the fight to make it so, and that's the first step toward making it a reality in Michigan. So yes, I have some thoughts on it. Yes, you've been trying to get my attention. We're right here.
Getting back to the mining comment, I worked at the Empire Mine, which closed and lost a lot of good-paying jobs in the area. Thankfully, it kept a job at the Tilden Mine, but the governor in Minnesota and the state of Minnesota really advocated in Washington to protect steel dumping, to protect against the Chinese steel dumping, and Snyder didn't show up until the Empire closed and said we should talk about it. So I'd like to hear if you've noticed any of that difference between industry activism between the states, or.
I have not, and so I'm glad you're bringing this to my attention. I have not. I cannot pretend, and I'm not going to try to tell you I know something when I don't. I'll just tell you I don't know what. I'm glad you raised it, because that's something I'm not surprised to hear, that the governor's not advocating for people in the state of Michigan and going to Washington, D.C. I'm hopeful that he's successful in trying to keep Medicaid expansion in Michigan as we see what's happening in Washington, D.C., but I'm not surprised to hear that he wasn't there on our behalf. So I guess that's something that I need to bone up on. And I'm going to ask my counselors, Lindbergh and Prusi, to make sure that I'm up to speed on these issues. Thank you. Thanks for raising it. Let me write it down so I don't forget to follow up. Sorry. Okay. Who else has had their hand up that I haven't talked to? Yes.
Yes, thank you for coming up here. I was down in Lansing for the Women's March, and I heard you down there.
That was fun.
I was thrilled. One question about the environment, and that's the Greenbridge pipeline. Specifically under the bridge. What would you do with it?
I don't think we should have oil going underneath the Great Lakes.
No.
Thank you. You know, people are concerned about energy prices in the UP, and we're concerned about jobs, and those are important to me too. But the Great Lakes is what literally defines Michigan.
Quick fine point, the oil flows south on that pipeline. It comes in the West UP and it goes to Lower Michigan. So it has nothing to do with energy staying in the UP.
Thank you for making that point. Still, energy and jobs are an issue, so,
Yeah.
but that's an important point that you made. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going to ruin us if it does go. Yeah.
We're defined by our water. You know, we have 20% of the world's fresh water is Michigan water. And we are the worst stewards on the planet because we've taken it for granted. And we got to do a better job. I'm reading a book that's called Let There Be Water. Water is life, but that's where the title comes from. But it's all about the management of water, and we are doing so many things backward here in Michigan because it's been so plentiful. That's the most precious resource that we have, and it's going to get more and more valuable with climate change. And I do. Well, like I said, I don't believe in alternative facts. There's just
I was going to ask you. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I have my hand up for.
Okay.
What really freaks me out is all of the alt news. They're just changing the reality. If they want something that isn't going to work for us, they just lie.
Right.
They just say it'll work perfectly, and they really don't care. And I don't know how we stop that, but they took Jefferson as a founding father out of the textbooks for kids to learn because of his affair with a slave. This is just ridiculous. Reality is reality. You can't change it,
right,
unless you act differently. Do you believe in lying to people, or are we going to start changing the state of reality?
Well, I think my
mean,
hope,
that's a ridiculous
my
question.
hope, my prayer is that after 2016, we've learned we can't take anyone for granted, and this state is going to insist that we have a substantive debate on issues, and not listen to phony statements, not let people get away with making a campaign about personality and personal attacks. Let's talk about moving Michigan forward. Let's talk about what is the Michigan we want to see in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Let's, you know, I mean, I saw a little bit of that press conference yesterday. I know people who sat through 77 minutes of that brain damage. I don't know. I'm not saying he's brain damage. I'm saying that would make me crazy if I sat and watched through all of that.
Yeah.
Rush Limbaugh's fans loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay. Anyway, I don't even know what to say to that. On occasion, I am talking. Yes.
So that's a really good point. How are you going to spend the next 2 years explaining and persuading our friends and our neighbors not to keep voting against their own best interests? How do you persuade people?
That's a good question.
Well, I think you start by listening. You know, we have to seek to understand why people voted the way they did. Whether we need to engage with everybody. We need to engage with every Bernie supporter and every Hillary supporter. We need to engage with everyone who is so mad at the world they didn't vote. And we need to talk to people who voted for Donald Trump, who voted for Barack Obama 4 years ago, but voted for Trump this cycle because they're so mad that government hasn't helped them improve their lives. I don't think that these Michigan Trump voters endorse all of his nasty rhetoric. Some of them might have. I don't think that the vast majority of people who voted for Barack Obama all of a sudden became hateful, you know, endorsed all that rhetoric. But they were so frustrated by government that they felt didn't care about them and didn't help them. That's what we need to understand, and that's why we need to build a platform that speaks to everyone in this state. That takes time. That takes listening. That takes engaging. And that's why I'm here, and this is what I'm going to be doing for 2 years. I got to raise a boatload of money, and I got to build a platform that people believe in. Yeah. We're going to be putting out our first iteration of the platform in the next 4 weeks, so I hope that you've signed in and you've given us your email address. But we're calling it a platform information for a very important reason. I have a lot of good ideas. I think I know what some of the bigger problems are in Michigan, but I don't profess to know every answer for everybody across the state. I'm going to throw my ideas on the table, and I want you to tell me, you're missing this. Let's highlight this and replicate it across the state. Let's think about doing this way. I want your input. I want this to be a Michigan plan. This isn't a Whitmer plan. This is about the people of the state of Michigan. And so that's what I'm going to do to try to rebuild this party. That's what I'm going to do to try to pull people back into the Democratic Party. I think that's what it is. We have to show people the respect to actually ask them what they need and want to see out of their government. Way back there, yes.
I'm sorry if you covered this, I was late, I was at a meeting, but I have two big concerns. Earlier, late last year, this court ruled that it is not a right for children to learn to read in Michigan. And recently, we have Michigan wants to let local districts decide on the Common Core state standards. Yeah. I think both of these are detrimental to our students, and I also think that we have, well, I know Michigan has been on a downward slide. We used to be able to say, yeah, but Mississippi, but we can't say that anymore. And so I want to know, what are we going to do to make sure that money is not funneled away for vouchers or private schools or other things that hurt our public education?
I was just thinking, what would you do if I said, I don't think literacy is a fundamental right? Would you all run out of the building? I would never say that.
I'm getting my PhD in literacy.
Literacy is a fundamental right.
Yes.
A Whitmer administration would never go into court and say and challenge that. To the contrary, we will do everything to make sure that our kids are ready to read by 3rd grade, not by with the threat of holding them back, but with the additional support to make sure that they hit that benchmark. And you were a little late. We spent the beginning talking about education because I think a lot of people in this room think that that's the first and most fundamental thing that we need to do right. And so your thoughts as someone on the front line are really important to me but I concur with exactly everything that you said. All right? Good.
An additional point, I have dyslexia, and if you have dyslexia and you don't learn to read by about the age where you'd be entering 3rd grade, you will basically never be able to learn to read fluently. Whereas if you learn before that, you can learn to read just as well as anyone else. So that is
Thank
very
you for
important.
sharing that. I think that's a really important thing for us to know, and we also know that even for kids who don't have an additional hurdle like dyslexia, that till 3rd grade you learn to read, and then beyond that you read to learn. So if you're not able to read, you're really missing out on the education. Pardon?
His teachers were awesome.
That's
Oh,
great.
mostly.
That's great. I thought you two might be together. I can tell the passion. Yeah, it's great. Yes.
So one more quick question about education. As a college student who's trying to better themselves by going to school, I've had to straddle student loans. I don't know if you have a specific idea to make it so that I'm not scared to graduate because I'm not going to be able to pay off my student loans right away. Do you have a specific plan that can make students feel safe knowing that if they stay in Michigan after college, they have an opportunity to either reduce their student loans or have some of them forgiven?
So when I was in the Senate, I introduced the Michigan 2020, which took those tax expenditures that I was talking about a little bit ago, the tax giveaways, took a percentage of that and put them into a full scholarship program for Michigan students. That's something I'd still like to shoot for, but we got to make sure that we alleviate the debt that's already been incurred by so many students. And so I am acutely aware of how important that is. One of the flaws of my Michigan 2020 plan was someone said you should call it the Chicago 2020 because you don't require that people stay in Michigan or pay it back if they leave. So that's something that I would use to make it even better. But I think it's got to include debt relief for people that have incurred it already and already are
And maybe a system of more grant money available to Michigan students at a Michigan level. The grant money, you wouldn't have to pay that with a student loan.
Yep.
A lot of times we're using student loans through institutions, financial institutions. They're just reaping the benefit of students going to school and the government trying to make education affordable. It's just like insurance on debt. They're just in there to scam.
Got it. Okay.
And so I used to be a student loan counselor at Marquette University.
So you know.
Yeah, I used to mostly counsel with parents. So.
I'm going to do one more question, and then I'm going to wrap it up. But I'm going to stick around and answer one-on-one because everyone's been standing in here for a little while, so I want to do that. You're it. So shoot.
All right. So my question is for everybody here. So how do we have ideas, we have questions. Where do we go? What do we do after today to get those ideas to you?
Excellent. Okay, so GretchenWhitmer.com is a splash page right now. We are building the plane as we're flying it. So the full website will be online. Pardon?
Rise Up UP is an indivisible group here that you can join, and we can also.
Wise Up UP.
Rise
Up. Wise Up has worked for certain areas, not that you need wisdom. Rise Up UP is an organization that's come together that they're encouraging you to join and get active in as well.
You press Rise Up on Facebook. You press Rise Up on Facebook.
Okay.
Sign in.
If you happen to have a cell phone, I know that who was at the Women's March? You told me a minute ago. Yes. All right, at the Women's March, one of my calls to action was to pull out your cell phone and dial this 5-digit number. No, really, you can do it now if you want to. To the number 91990, and you hit type in MI for Michigan, and you can get on our text messaging service, so you will see our calls to action. We're going to try to do them weekly so that we can give people an activity. So the number is 91990. And you just text the letters MI, and you'll get our call to action alerts. I said that at the Women's March in Lansing. I'm working with Bernie Sanders' group, Revolution Media, on my social media, and 7,000 people signed up in that one day in Lansing. They said they'd worked on congressional campaigns for a whole 2-year cycle that never hit 7,000. We did it in one day on week 3 of the campaign. Now I know that's not about me. It's about that Donald Trump has inspired us like no other. They say you need to agitate, educate, and then organize. He's going to agitate and educate for us. It's on us to organize. So join that.
Something represent us because of that up here in the UP. So would you create a commission in 2020 after you've won your governorship?
I don't want a commission, I want to change the law. So forget a commission, let's start a ballot initiative and take redistricting away from the legislature and give it to a We Democrats gotta start playing the short game and the long game, right? All right, good. Thank you all for making time to be here. We got to walk with Whitmer at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Wait, Steve Lindbergh wants to make a
What was that number again?
9-1.